New York City's subway system is a sprawling labyrinth of tunnels and stations, some of which have been abandoned for decades. One of these forgotten stations is the old City Hall station, closed since 1945. Though no longer in use, the station is occasionally visible to passengers when trains loop around. Jake, a subway enthusiast, had heard rumors of strange occurrences at the City Hall station. Determined to see it for himself, he boarded the last train of the night, hoping to catch a glimpse as the train looped. As the train slowed near the station, he pressed his face against the window, eager to see the architectural marvel. What he saw instead chilled him to the bone. In the dimly lit station stood a woman in a long, outdated dress. She seemed to be waiting for a train that would never come. Her eyes locked onto Jake's, and she slowly raised her hand in a gesture that seemed like a wave, but felt more like a beckon. Jake blinked, and she was gone, leaving only the empty, eerie station in his view. Shaking off the experience, Jake exited the train at the next stop, but the encounter haunted him. He researched the history of the station and found a disturbing story. A woman in the early 1900s had thrown herself onto the tracks in a fit of despair, her spirit rumored to haunt the station ever since. Jake decided to return the next night, this time equipped with a camera. He waited until the last train again, nervously clutching his camera. As the train neared the station, he started recording. The station came into view, and so did the woman. This time she was closer, her features more defined. Her eyes were hollow, and her mouth moved as if trying to speak. Jake felt a cold chill spread through his body, but he kept recording. The woman raised her hand again, and this time, Jake heard a faint whisper through the train window. "Help me!" Panicked, Jake turned off the camera and stepped off the train at the next stop. He reviewed the footage, but there was no woman, no whisper, only the empty station. To this day, Jake avoids the subway at night, the memory of the ghostly woman forever etched in his mind. In Tokyo, the subway is known for its efficiency and punctuality, but one late-night ride changed everything for Emmy, a young office worker. Emmy had stayed late at work and was on the last train home. The car was mostly empty, save for a few tired commuters. As the train sped through the dark tunnels, Emmy noticed a man at the far end of the car, staring at her intently. Feeling uncomfortable, she moved to another seat, closer to the door. The man followed, his eyes never leaving her. Emmy's heart raced as she glanced around for help, but the few other passengers were either asleep or engrossed in their phones. When the train stopped at a deserted station, Emmy bolted out, hoping to lose the man. To her horror, he followed her off the train. She quickened her pace, heading for the exit, but the station was eerily quiet. As she reached the escalator, she turned to see the man still behind her, his pace matching hers. Panicked, Emmy ran towards the station office, only to find it closed for the night. She could hear the man's footsteps getting closer. She darted into the nearest tunnel, hoping to find another way out. The tunnel was dark and damp, the sound of dripping water echoing around her. Suddenly, Emmy heard a voice behind her, soft and menacing. "Why are you running?" She turned, but there was no one there. The man had disappeared. Heart pounding, she continued down the tunnel, desperate to find an exit. Then she saw him again, standing under a flickering light, his face twisted into a sinister smile. "You can't escape," he whispered. Emmy screamed and ran in the opposite direction, only to find herself at a dead end. She turned to face the man, but he was gone. Trembling, she pressed herself against the cold wall, praying for someone to find her. Minutes felt like hours, but eventually, she heard the sound of a train approaching. She ran back towards the platform just in time to catch the first train of the morning. She stumbled into the car, gasping for breath, and looked back at the platform. The man was nowhere to be seen. Emmy never took the last train again, and she still wonders if the man was real or a figment of her imagination. Either way, the fear she felt that night was very real. London's underground has its share of ghost stories, but none are as chilling as the tale of the silent screamer. In the 1970s, a young woman named Clara was traveling late at night on the Northern Line. She was alone in the car, reading a book, when she felt the temperature drop. She looked up to see a man sitting across from her, his eyes wide and terrified. Clara tried to ignore him, but his silent scream unnerved her. He seemed to be in some kind of distress, his mouth open in a soundless cry. She looked around for help, but the car was empty. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice trembling. The man didn't respond. Instead, he pointed towards the window. Clara turned to look, but saw nothing. When she turned back, the man was gone. She blinked, trying to make sense of what she had seen. The seat where he had been sitting was empty. The train stopped at the next station, and Clara hurried out, eager to be around other people. She reported the incident to the station attendant, who listened with a grim expression. "You're not the first to see him," the attendant said. "They call him the Silent Screamer. Legend has it, he was a passenger who witnessed a murder on the train and was too scared to scream. He died of a heart attack, and now his spirit is trapped, reliving that moment over and over." Clara shivered, feeling the temperature drop again. She thanked the attendant and left, determined never to ride the Northern Line alone at night. Years later, Clara still thinks about the Silent Screamer. She avoids the underground whenever possible, the memory of the terrified man haunting her every journey. Moscow's metro is known for its stunning architecture and deep tunnels, but beneath its beauty lies a darker legend, the Phantom Train. During the Soviet era, it was said that a train, long out of service, would appear late at night. Its ghostly passengers lost souls from another time. Dmitri, a maintenance worker, dismissed the stories as mere superstition. One night, while working alone in the tunnels, he heard the distant rumble of a train. Checking his schedule, he knew there were no trains running at that hour. Curiosity piqued, he decided to investigate. As he walked down the tunnel, the sound grew louder. A train approached, its headlights cutting through the darkness. Dmitri stepped back, pressing himself against the wall. The train was old, its exterior covered in rust and grime. Through the windows, he could see passengers, their faces blank and expressionless. The train slowed as it passed, and Dmitri caught a glimpse of the conductor. To his shock, the conductor was dressed in an old Soviet uniform, his eyes empty and hollow. The train came to a stop, and the doors opened with a creak. "Dmitri!" a voice called from the train. He froze, his heart pounding. How did they know his name? The voice called again, more insistent. He took a step closer, peering into the car. The passengers turned to look at him, their eyes filled with despair. "Come with us," the voice whispered. Dmitri stumbled back, shaking his head. The doors closed, and the train slowly pulled away, disappearing into the darkness. He ran back to the station, his mind racing. He reported the incident to his supervisor, who listened with a grim expression. "Many have seen the Phantom Train," the supervisor said. "It's said to be a remnant of the past, carrying the souls of those who died during the construction of the metro. They seek new passengers to join them in their eternal journey." Dmitri quit his job soon after, unable to shake the memory of the ghostly train. He left Moscow, hoping to leave the haunting experience behind. But even now, late at night, he sometimes hears the distant rumble of a train, a chilling reminder of the night he encountered the Phantom Train.